Thank you for joining on time. I know others will join. I'm going to try to make sure others join more than as we normally have. I'm going to go start calling. So I need to introduce our guest. So today, Power BI Office Hour number 17, we have a special guest amongst us today, a special guest for this particular session. His name is Adewale Yusuf. You see the flyer already displaying, and he's going to talk about, he's going to walk us through mastering role level security in Power BI. It's one aspect of Power BI that some people don't even know. It's a bit overlooked, but very powerful, and so it's a very great privilege and an honor to have a Microsoft MVP, Adewale Yusuf, join us on today's session. Please feel free to ask him any questions you have. After his demo, he's going to share some personal. We're going to drill him with some personal questions, so you'll get to learn about his journey also. So the floor is yours, sir. So over to you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. And some people are watching from outside Nigeria. I can say good day. Hi, my name is Adewale. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very happy to meet everyone. And I've actually been joining this BI office hour for a couple of weeks now. I always join. I don't know, maybe you noticed that. At least we are all trying to learn something new every time. And what I'm bringing to you today is actually security with Power BI, and then it's something very key, especially on your beautiful dashboard and all these interesting things that you are able to come up with. It's good to always put security on them so that people would just have access to your data anyhow, right? I can share my screen now, right, Mr. Michael?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. All right, so today, like I said, we are going to be walking us through mastering role level security in Power BI. That's what we are going to be doing today. And then this is going to be an interacting section, trust me. Okay, so this is me, myself. My name is Adewale Yusuf, just like my Oga Michael Olafusi mentioned. I am Adewale Yusuf. I'm a business intelligence analyst and trainer at Dbrand Consulting. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. I'm also a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional. I'm the lead of Nigeria Power Platform User Grid in Oyo State, Nigeria. And I also moderate MCT West Africa Virtual Series. So that is me. You can connect with me on Twitter at Adewale Analyst, then also on LinkedIn, Adewale Yusuf. Then I have some YouTube channels as well. So you can just look for Adewale Yusuf. So that's just me. Now, going into this session today, I'm going to be talking about some agenda for today. And what is our agenda basically? What are the things we are going to be talking about today? So what we are going to be talking about today is simple, and it's something called role level security. Low level security. So we are going to be talking about what is role level security. And then after that, we'll talk about basic role level security. We'll also talk about understanding role level security. And then we also talk about dynamic use of role level security. And if you can give me 1 second. All right, so I'm having a bit of technology challenge. Just 1 second. Okay, let me just share again. Okay, all right. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, we see your screen
now. Awesome. Second screen is actually misbehaving. Okay, so let me move into the agenda for today. So like I said, our agenda for today, we'll talk about what is row-level security. We also talk about understanding row-level security. We also be talking about setting up basic row-level security, and also how to set up dynamic row-level security. And we'll look at some lookups with row-level security, how you can do some advanced lookup with row-level security. And you can ask me as many questions as possible. Maybe you have any question in mind that you think you want to ask me based on all these things we'll be talking about today. Just know that you are free to ask me. Okay, so what is Power BI row-level security? And then why did people put RLS on their dashboard? So the reason why we actually call it row-level security is because it protects some rows. Right? It protects some rows. It restricts your user from having access to some particular rows in your data. So with Power BI Desktop, you can use row-level security to restrict data access for some given users. Maybe I have some people in my organization and I have different managers. I'm going to use that example. I have different managers, and those my managers, I want, maybe I'm a manager of Lagos, for example. So I want, if you're a manager of Lagos, the only data you can have access to see is only Lagos data, right? If you're a manager of Oyo State, the only data you can have access to see is for data of Oyo State. So you can put this kind of row level security. That's why we call it row level. So it's going to filter your row in a way that will suit the access you want to give to a particular users. And that's what row level security means. And then people do a lot of security, especially when you are adding some dynamic to it. And we'll talk about those dynamic as well today. So understanding row level security, a lot of people don't actually use row level security in Power BI. In fact, I can say many people don't even know row level security actually exists, and it has been there ever since Power BI was created. So row level security is actually very simple. And how did you even start using row level security? It's very easy. From your Power BI desktop, you define a row in your Power BI desktop that this is what I want. This is what I want this user to see. This is what I want this particular audience to see. So you define your row with your Power BI desktop. That's what you're going to do. Then after you define your row, you now go to your Power BI service and assign users to these rows that you've created on your Power BI desktop. Remember, you can curate your row level security from Power BI desktop. Then when you get to your Power BI service, you now assign users to the row you created. So just like I mentioned, you created a row to filter Lagos, right? So you can assign a user to Lagos. So let's say Mr. Michael is in charge of our product in Lagos. I can assign that row to him so that when I publish my dashboard, Mr. Michael can only have access to all the data related to Lagos. He can't have access to any other data aside from Lagos. So just look at it in this way. You have two things to understand row level security. The first one is define the row in your Power BI desktop. Then the second one is assign users to that row on your Power BI service. That is basically how to create a row level security. So also I mentioned something about basic row level security. Row level security is actually awesome, and you can curate some basic stuff with this row level security without stress. Now, let me show one of my Power BI reports, and let's create some basic row level security that I'm sure that almost all of us can actually create. And then it's not hard, like I said, it is very simple. It's very simple. Like I said, it's not really hard. So this is a Power BI dashboard I created, just a small dashboard, and I can create a row based on this dashboard that you are looking at here. If you look at this dashboard very well, and you look at my data, in fact, let's look at my data first. So I have different tables here. I have a dimension for line of business. I have a dimension for model. I have a dimension for region. I have a dimension for calendar. Then I have my fact sales and my product details. Right? So if you look at this, my D model, I have all my product here, and all the product that I have here, I have the manager name here, and I have their email address. So there is a manager that actually manages each product, right? So just like, let's use Dangote for example, there'll be a manager that manages sugar, there'll be somebody else that manages salt, cement, and all that. So there's a manager that manages all these particular products here. And if I look at my D model, I only have model here, then my D region as well. I have different regions. I have North Central, North East, North South, Southwest. Then I have the market, then I have the store. And also I have some managers that manage each region, right? You can see this. So here I have North Central. And for North Central, the manager that manages North Central is Adewale Yusuf. Is Adewale Yusuf that manages North Central. That is why you can see that if you look at this North Central and look at the manager name, you can see that the manager that manages the North Central is Adewale Yusuf, and you can also see the email address of the manager there as well. If I also scroll down my mouse, you can see Northeast. So we have a manager that manages Northeast, and that manager is David Abu, and you can see the email address of the manager as well there. So we also have different managers down here. If I scroll down, there's a manager called Samson Obasi. There's another manager called Esther Anyakojo, and Adewale Yusuf also managed Southwest. Look at this. This is interesting. So Adewale Yusuf managed North Central, and Adewale Yusuf also managed Southwest, right? So this particular manager managed two regions at the same time, right? So I have all these things set. Now, let's assume that, let me also show you my model. So this is my data model that connects all these tables together. This is my data model that connects all these tables you are looking at. This is the data model that connects all of them together using my unique value, right? So let's now assume, in fact, let me do a basic row level security. Let's assume that I only want my audience to only see Southwest data. Let's say I create a group dashboard. Now, I'm deploying this report to some managers in Southwest, right? And what I want them to see is only data related to Southwest. I don't want them to see any other thing than Southwest, right? And then the beauty of this low level security, remember, is working on your table. Meanwhile, all the reports that you have, all the dashboard that you have, is going to actually filter them as well. If I go to my other dashboard, it's going to filter them as well, to filter all of them as well. So now, to do a row level security, it's very simple. Like I said, you have to go to modeling from your Power BI desktop. And then under modeling, you will see something here that most of us don't take note of. Is called security. Security. This section is called security. What we can see here is called security. Look at it. It's called security. What we can see is called security. And it's from here that you create your security. So if I click on manage row, so under this manage row, presently I don't have any row set. That's why you can see that this box is actually empty because I don't have any row set here. So this box is empty. So to start a new row, I can come here and click on create. So once I click on create, it will list all my tables here so that I can know where I'm creating my security from. Then I can give the security a name. I can say, I can call it Southwest. So let me just call this Southwest. Okay, that's my security. So Southwest, and what am I doing with Southwest? I'll just go to my D region table. Since the table I want to filter is actually my region, then I'll click on add filter. Look at this add filter here. Once you click on the ellipsis in front of D region, you will see the add filter, and the add filter technically will give you access to all the columns in that table. And in fact, there's even one powerful button here called hide all rows. Let's assume you don't want them to see anything. You can hide all your rows and deploy a Power BI report. Then when you want them to see it, then you actually unhide all your rows, right? That's another security. But since what I want now is I want to be able to deploy this report to Southwest. So I can say my region, right? So my region, if I click on this region here, it's like a filter. So look at this. Now it's showing region is equal to value. So which value? Which value is region equal to? And remember the security I want to do. The security I want to do is technically Southwest, right? So what I would do is I will just come here and I will type Southwest. Okay, so once I type Southwest, so this is the security I'm setting for this. Once I type Southwest, you're going to click this button here. Make sure you click this button here to validate your security. So I'll come there, I'll click on the button. Once I click on the button, then I'll also click save here. Look at this, save here to save my security. So once I save this, I can actually test this security for my Power BI desktop, or I can go to my Power BI service and just test it, but let's do the both. So if I come here under my security as well, there is view as. So I want to view this security as Southwest. Now look at this. If you look at this report before I filter this report, you can see that I have different region here. Even on this my second report, I have a map here that shows all the region. Even on this third chart, I have a scatter chart here that shows all the market under all the region. So let's assume that I now filter this row. So let me filter this row. So if I come to view as Southwest and I click OK. So now I just tested my row level security. Now look at this. If you look at this map right now, this map is now showing all the market under Southwest alone. Ekiti, you can see Ekiti here, you can see Abeokuta here. So it's showing all the market under Southwest alone. You can even go, if I even go to this my scatter chart, you see that I can only see all the states under that particular region, and that's Ondo, Ekiti, Oyo, Ogun, Osun, and it also filter my main report too, right? So that is technically how to do a basic row level security. Before I test this on Power BI service, there's another one you can do. Another thing you can also do to this is that you can do something like, okay, instead of showing only Southwest, why can't I deploy a security that shows, maybe I have a particular manager that managed 2 regions, just like I show you, Adewale Yusuf manage 2 regions, and you want to deploy this to 2 regions. So you can come back to your manage row. And from this is my security. Basically, I'm just going to add another filter. I'll just come to this ellipsis in front of here, add another filter, and I'm adding region again. So to create this ampersand for me, hand, this double hand, right? And what I want now is Southwest, and let's say which other region? Maybe South. Let me just put South there. South. Okay, so Southwest and South, right? But when I save this, you see that something funny will happen. Something funny will happen. Okay, so I'm saving this now. So I'm saving my security now. So now let me view this security as Southwest. Now look at this. Look at the something funny that I said is going to happen. Now all my row is returning blank. Nothing is showing, right? Nothing is actually showing. And if I go to my table under here, look at my table. This is my D region table. There's nothing in the table again. And why? Because row level security doesn't understand hand really. What is understand is something called hall, is that you talk about hall, maybe you want Southwest and South. So instead of putting hand, what you're supposed to put is actually hall. I want Southwest or South, right? So that is only how row level security can accept your ampersand. So if I come here, I'll just technically change this my double and sign to this pipeline, these 2 pipelines. So this 2 pipeline is the way you write hall. It's actually DAX. For some of us that are familiar with DAX very well. So you do those 2 pipelines to specify that you are actually doing HOR on this. And when I click on save, right? When I click on save, let me click on save now to save this. Okay, awesome. So when I click on save now, you can see that this is now filtered by Southwest and South. I can now see Southwest and South. And if I go to my scatter chart as well, I should be able to see all the states related to Southwest and South. Yes, can you see that? Ekiti and Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, Oyo. And this is basically filtering based on my security, based on the security I actually stated. And that's just a basic security. And just like I said, you can publish this to your Power BI service. Let me publish it right now. And I'm going to save this report. So I'm going to publish this Power BI report now. And when I publish it, you see how this interacts on Power BI service. So I'll publish this to my workspace. All right, so let me open this on my desktop. So you can see that this is let me open it on my browser so you can see how simple this is, even when you are working with it on your Power BI service. Now, I just published this report to Power BI service, and this is this report here. So how to actually access this security on Power BI service is simple. You need to come to your workspace. So when you click on your workspace, any workspace that you're using at all, under your data set, you need to look for your data here, your dashboard here. So mine is called, I think I call it, what do I call it? I call it, I think mastering role level security or something. What did I call the data? Okay, so I guess this is it. Maybe I think this is what I call it, advanced DAX. So if I click on these three ellipses here, I can click on security actually, and if there's any role level security on this, it's going to show me. So look at this. So this is the Southwest I created. So I can also view this online by clicking on this ellipsis here. I can click on it and say test as a row. So I'll test it online, right? So once I test it online, you can see this is showing only Southwest now, based on the row that I specify. Then I can also add users to this. Maybe the people I want, the manager of this particular region is Samson or Basi. So I will actually type Samson email address here, then I will add. Another interesting thing you can do is that you can add group of people. Maybe if you have a list of email address of some managers in your organization, you can put it in your Azure AD, Active Directory, or you can create it in SharePoint, right? So I can put a group of trainer. For us, we have a trainer. We have a group of trainer, and this is a group of trainer. Everybody that have access to this group, we have access to this security that I just created, right? And I'll just click save. So these people that I just added here, they have access to that security, and they can see how it actually works. Okay, so that's how to do your basic row level security. Now let's move to some dynamics row level security, which is a little bit more advanced, but I can't call it advanced, it's still basic as well. So dynamic row level security, let's move into that as well. So what is this dynamic row level security? Unlike the basic row level security, there are some, let me say, some challenges to that basic row level security. And then the challenges actually is very tiring, because when you create a basic row level security and it's not dynamic, right? You have to keep on coming back to your Power BI desktop. You have to keep on changing the row. So that will actually stress you, right? That's the problem with the basic RLS. It requires a new row for every different security scenario. Maybe you have another scenario. Somebody said, okay, so we only want this person in Ikeja local government to only view this. So you have to now go back to your Power BI desktop, create another set of scenario for the row, and it could require a continuous maintenance, right? For the basic, it should require a continuous maintenance, because you have to keep on coming back and now be changing, keep on changing your security. But for dynamic row level security, this is very automated, and it's very nice. Most of the time when you need to change anything here, most of the thing you will change is actually your just your data model, right? Or your dimension, right? So, and the way you can do a dynamic row level security is by using something called username or user principal name. So I prefer to always use user principal name. So username was the one that first came out before user principal name. So user principal name is actually more, let me say, more latest. So I prefer to use, it actually does the same thing. So I prefer to use user principal name. So let me do a demo of how this dynamic row level security works in your Power BI. And if you look at this, my Power BI, I've showed you my table before, and this table that I show you here, you can see each user here. Let me stop this RLS. Each user here has different managers, right? Each region has different managers. Adewale Yusuf is the manager of this, and then David Abu is the manager of Northeast. So I can create a dynamic RLS that Adewale Yusuf should only have access to the data of the region that you manage. David Abu should only have access to the data of the region that you manage. And how did you do that? It's actually simple. The same way I did the first one I did. I need to go to my modeling. Under security here, I'll click on my manage row. Then once I'm here, I can create another row, and I'll call this, let me just call this one dynamics. Dynamics security. You just call it dynamic RLS. All right. So, and what am I doing to this dynamic RLS, right? So what I'm doing is extremely simple. And remember I said you can easily create a row level security that is very, very dynamic. And what are you doing here? What you are just doing is that you are coming to your D region and you are technically saying you are adding a filter on manager email. Remember I have a manager email here. So you are adding a filter on manager email, and what you are actually saying, instead of manager email to be a value, then you say manager email is going to be a user principal name. A user principal name. That is what your manager email is going to be, user principal name. And what does this mean? This simply means that whenever any user sign into this dashboard on your tenant on Power BI service, it's going to give them access to what they can see based on their user email. So if I click on this now, let me save this. Remember I said you should always click this to save. Then I will save this my RLS. Okay, so another thing about this dynamic security that you should always understand, especially the user principal name, is that you should be careful because it's not actually easy to test. It's not easy to test user principal name on the Power BI desktop, right? It's not easy to test. And the reason why it's not easy to test is because the way the user principal name and the username interact in Power BI desktop is different from the way it interacts on the Power BI service. Say, for example, let me show you how the user principal name works. So if I write this function in DAX, the user principal name that I just did now, so I will just call it, let me just write this simple function in DAX so that you can see the way this interacts in Power BI desktop is different from the way to interact on Power BI. Let me just call it user PN. All right, and I'll just say user principal, and this is it. I'll just close my bracket, then enter. So now let me use this in. Let me just put this in a card. User PN. Let me put it in a card. Okay. So putting this in a card. All right, so look at this in a card. So instead of this showing email address, look at what is showing on the desktop. It's showing desktop 12/Adewale. So look at this. It's showing desktop 12/Adewale. It's showing. So this will not actually easy for you to test when you're working with Power BI desktop. So to test this, it's very easy for you to test it on Power BI service. Now, let me publish this report to Power BI service again so that you can see the way this interact. And if you look at this card here, this card to my left, I've created a dynamic DAX that can actually tell me who log into this dashboard. You can see that presently admin login because I'm an admin, right? So I'll be the one to assign this to everyone. So if anybody that enter this dashboard, it will show their name here, so you know that this is your name and you log in as so person. So let me publish this up to Power BI service again. Let me publish it to Power BI service again so that you can see how user principal name works. Okay, so I'm publishing to my workspace. I think I have the data before. Let me replace it. So this is publishing to Power BI service. You can see how simple this is. You are not writing much code. You just need to understand some basic DAX function that you need to write. So this is publishing to Power BI desktop. Let's see how this is going to work on the Power BI service, actually. Okay, so successful. So let me open this on Power BI service. All right. So from Power BI service, let me go to my workspace again. Let me go to my workspace. On my workspace, I'll just go to the data to check the security, right? So I call this data RLS demo. So if I click on this three dot here, you will see this security here. You see this security down here, security. So I'll click on it. Once I click on the security, you can see the two RLS rules I've curated. So the first one is the dynamic RLS. Now, let me add some users to this RLS. I'm adding David Abu to this, and I'm adding Samson to this. Now, if I add this and I save this, so let me view this. Let me test this rule so you can see how this rule we actually. Now look at this. Look at this. My dynamic card that I said I created. Now this is showing Adewale Yusuf logged in. Right, logged in as Adewale Yusuf. Logged in as Adewale Yusuf. And I only have access to Southwest and North Central. And if you look at my table that I show you in Power BI, I already show you that Adewale Yusuf have access to North Central, which is here, North Central, and also if I scroll down, Adewale Yusuf also have access to. Okay, I think somebody needs to mute their mic.
Sorry
right.
about that. Yeah, you can carry on. I'll be monitoring.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Adewale Yusuf actually work with different regions. So you can see it here. If I scroll down here, Adewale Yusuf also manage South, West, and then North Central. So if I go back to my Power BI service, you can see Southwest and North Central here. That's what Adewale Yusuf manage, right? So let me test this role as someone else. If you look at this, you can see that David Abu on my table here, David Abu is the manager of Northeast, right? So let me view this role as David Abu, and let's see how this is going to interact. So I'm going to come here and I'll type David Abu here, and then I'll select David Abu, then I'll apply. So I'm viewing this as David Abu. So now look at this. David login as David Abu, and David Abu only have access to Northeast, which is basically what I show you. David Abu only have access to Northeast. So if I go back to my table, what does Samson Obasi have access to? Samson Obasi have access to Northwest, right? So if I view this row as Obasi, Samson Obasi, let me view this row as Samson Obasi. So look at this here. Samson Obasi have access to Northwest, and you can see login as Samson Obasi, right? So this is how the user principal name works, and it's extremely simple. Just like I said, you are not writing anything complex. And remember, I told you that the way this user principal name interact on Power BI desktop is different from the way this user principal name interacts on the Power BI service. So if I go to the page I created the other time that shows Adewale Yusuf. Now look at the way this is showing. This is showing sobasi@dbrandconsulting.net, right? Unlike what is showing before, it's just showing desktop.wale. So if I view this as myself now, so let me view this as myself. So you see that this will show wusuf@dbrandconsulting.net, right? You can see that the way it interact, the way the formula interact on the desktop and the Power BI service is actually different, right? So that is why you need to really understand that this is how this thing works, and it will help you to determine what you need to do. And that's how to use user principal name. It's very simple. Now, let's go into more advanced scenario. Let's say, for example, in this my data that I have here, I have a particular manager that manage all these people, right? And then let's say Wale is the manager. Okay. And then you remember I said Wale have access to North Central and then Southwest. That's the only region Wale have access to. North Central and then Southwest. But now, Mane is the manager of managers, right? Wale is the manager of managers. So as the manager of managers, I want Wale to be able to have access to all the data, not just only North Central and Southwest. But because I've defined my user principal name, and this is actually dynamic, Wale only have access to these two. So I need to create my formula in a way that Wale will be able to have access to everything, right? And I'm creating that dynamic security so that when Wale sign in, Wale will see everything as the manager, right? As the manager of managers. To do that is very simple. What you just need to do is to make a little amendment to your table. You're making a little amendment to your table, and the amendment you are doing is just that you are adding. We can add one more column, and we can specify in that column whether Wale is a manager or no, right? Is Wale a manager? Is he not a manager? Is somebody a manager or somebody else is not a manager? So I can add one more column here. Inside this my table here, I can add a column, and I'm sure some of us are familiar with DAX. You just come to this table tools, new column is what I'm adding. I'm adding a column to this my table. And the column that I'm adding is to test whether Wale is a manager. So if Wale is a manager, just give me one. Other that are no manager, give them 0, 0, 0. So I can use this to test my lookup formula. So I can call this column, maybe I should call it let me just call it is manager. Okay, let me call it is manager. And I'm testing if Wale is a manager. And remember, anytime you're using a conditional statement, I've already mentioned if Wale is a manager, what I'm using is if function. And what's if function doing? I'm just testing if Wale Yusuf, if this manager, if I can just say, if this column here, look at this column here, this column, this manager name column. So let me just type it there. Manager name is equal to Wale Yusuf. My formula, if manager name from the region 2 table is equals to Wale Yusuf, then what I want is 1. I want you to give me 1. If S, maybe you should give me 0, right? Give me 0. And when I click OK, and then in my table, I'm going to have a new column now, and that new column here is manager. You can see 1, 1, 1, 1 for Wale and 0, 0, 0 for others. So Wale is a manager. So that's why you can see 1, 1, 1 there, right? Wale is a manager. Even if I scroll down to the other region that Wale manage, you see 1, 1, 1 here for Wale and 1, 1, 1 here for Wale. So awesome. So I've added a column that specifies that Wale is a manager, right? I've added a column that specifies that Wale is a manager. So what I need to do is to go back to my row level security and create another dynamic security. And what am I doing with that dynamic security? Remember I mentioned in my slide the other time, I mentioned something about advanced lookup with RLS, right? So you can do a simple lookup in your row level security and say, when look for if manager name and user principal name is equals to is manager, right? Look for 2 of them. If Wale is a manager, right? Then I want you to return true for Wale. I want Wale to see everything, right? But if Wale is not a manager, or let's say if you can see 1, I have 1 and 0. If you can see 0, then give them access to normal users. Let them see what they have access to. But if you can see 1, right? Just give Wale, that's Wale, and give Wale access to everything, right? And that's basically what I want to achieve. So if I go back to my manager roles, just like I said, you can make your row level security more advanced as you like, right? You can make it more advanced as you like. So let me call this manager scenario, or let me just call it manager level. So I have a level, right? So let me call it manager level. And from this, my manager level RLS, what I'm doing with this is just to write an if statement with a lookup DAX, right? And that DAX is extremely simple for some of us that are familiar with the lookup DAX. So what I'm doing is that I'm writing a particular formula on the manager. Let me just say manager name. Okay. But I can even push this down so that I can have more time to write my formula. And what I'm writing in my formula is actually if, right? Remember the if statement. So if Wale, if is manager, right? I'm testing if Wale is a manager right now. Okay, so and I have his manager column. So maybe I should bring that here so I can just copy it so that I won't type it. His manager, so I have his manager here. Let me just copy this. I'll delete all this later. I have his manager here. If his manager, right? Then I'm actually doing a comma, right? When you check if is a manager, so that's the first thing. If is a manager, then go to manager email, test if manager email here is equals to, so I'll put a comma and do another user principal name. User principal name. Open and close my bracket. User principal name. So I'm doing this too. Then let me close my bracket again. Is equals to 0. Remember that 0 that I stated. So 0 there is actually for people that are not managers. All right. Then 1 is for Wale, which is our manager. Right. If you test manager email and user principal name, if you check two of them, if you look up manager email and principal name and is equals to 0, then let manager email, which is this manager email here. I don't want to type. I'm lazy. Sorry. Let this manager email here, right, equals to user principal. Okay. User, let me do that in capital letter. User principal name. User principal name, right? So let it equals to user principal name, right? Comma again. Then if it's now 1, then I want you to return true. So sorry, this is getting more advanced. It's just a DAX formula. Doing a blog post on this very soon, which you can actually read and go through this formula very well. Then I want true, right? I want true. Then I'll close the if statement bracket. Let me just close it down here. Let me delete all this my rough work here. So this is my formula. If is manager, right? Is manager, just leave it there. So this lookup function, right? Oh, sorry, I didn't even add my lookup function to this. I need to add my lookup function to this. Okay, so lookup value, right? Lookup value, right? If you are looking up a value for his manager, and manager email is equals to the person that signed in, and the person that signed in is equals to 0, that means that person is not the manager. Then manager name is equals to user principal name. Then if not, return a true. So that means as you have access to everything. So if my formula is okay, let me click on this, then I should be able to know my formula is perfectly okay. Okay, awesome. So this formula is okay. And this is basically my advanced lookup, right? So you can easily do an advanced lookup like this just to test, right? So let me save this RLS. Now, when I save this and I deploy to, let me deploy to Power BI service again. Let me publish this again. So I'm saving this and I'm publishing it to Power BI service again. So the lookup function that I actually use is just like a lookup function that is just matching things together. And it's extremely simple, trust me. Okay, so I'm publishing this to Power BI service again so that you see the way this interacts. All right, so let me open this in my Power BI service so you can see this. Okay, I'm going to my workspace again. Then from my workspace, I'll come under data here. Remember under data, you look for your data. I call it RLS demo, rule level security demo. Then I'll click on this security here. Okay. Then this is the new role that I just created, the manager level, right? So let me add some people to this manager level as well. But I don't really need to, but let me just add David Abo. Okay. So if I view this row, let me test this row so that you can see. You can see that before. Let me test this row so you can see the manager level row. Look at this manager level row. You can see that Wale has access to everything. Wale has access to everything because I'm the manager of all manager. I have access to everything. But if I test this as Abu, David Abu, apply. David Abu does not have access to everything. David Abu only have access to Northeast, right? So this is how dynamics you can make your row level securities, and this is manager level. But if I test it under my dynamic RLS, you see that Wale does not have access to everything, right? So look at this. Under my dynamic, Wale does not have access to everything. So Wale only have access to Southwest and then North Central. But for my manager level, if I test the row under manager level, Wale has access to everything. And this is how dynamic you can make your row level security is. I'm checking our time already. I guess we have 14 minutes more. So Mr. Michael, how many minutes do I have more?
Well, carry on.
Okay, let me just round up because I'm sure our audience may have some questions. Okay, so I can stop here. So just like I said, you can do you can make your RLS as complex as you like. But anytime you're trying to use your row level security, try as much as possible to use a dynamic RLS. So if you use the basic one, you need to go back, and require a large maintenance, right? But when you do a dynamic RLS, it will be very, very easy for you to just work with your data perfectly. So that is why you can see all these things that I've created on my desktop. Everything worked perfectly. Even if you check this now, this is not filtering anything right now. And that's why you can see part 8 million for all of them and part last year for this one. So if I view a row now, let me just view one more row for roundup. So if I view a row, so let's say I view the Southwest row. Okay, so you see that this will be different now. Yeah, so this is different. So part last year is 3 billion, part this year. And if I select a date, let me select maybe 2015. So, and then this will just technically compare last year and this year. So that's basically it. Thank you so much, everyone, for this session. And I hope you guys really enjoyed the session.
Wow, I like this here. Thank you slide.
Thank you.
There are some questions. So, Mr. Dapo, you asked 3 questions. So maybe I let you like unmute and ask him to even become 5 by the time you guys start talking. So, Mr. Dapo, are you able to, or do you want me to read it? But I think it's always better when you ask the thing directly.
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Sunday. Wale, thank you for this presentation. Very interesting. So my very first question is this. Please, is the region value case sensitive? The other time where you were defining, the first RLS value, where you now filtered by region. So my question on that part is it case sensitive? If my Southwest is starting with initial capitals, if I do small letters all through, would it return an error, right? So that's my question.
Yes. So the first question is actually case sensitive. So you have to be careful of the case, right?
Okay. Then.
Even the email address, if the email address, the principal name that we are using. So let's say my email address starts with small letter. You now start your email address with capital letter. So there'll be an issue with your user principal name. Yeah. Okay
then. Okay, thank you. So that's my first question. So my second question, can we deploy RLS for public reports, right? And what do I mean by that? I'm talking of users outside the organization. Is it possible to also deploy? Because there are times when you share, your reports with some people outside your organization, right? Who also have Power BI licenses. Is it possible for me to share my reports with people outside my organization, as long as that report is shared with them? So that's my second question.
Yes, definitely. So can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can.
So look at this person. So this person is not actually from my organization. This is a Gmail account, right?
Yes.
Can you see this?
Yes.
And it doesn't mean
Yes.
that I can't add this person to this rule. Can you see I just add this person to this rule?
Yeah.
So even if you're outside my organization, I can actually deploy this report to you and you'll be able to see it. Yeah, as long as you have Power BI license.
Okay, I think that that question is in two phases. Yes, I understand this part. The other one is there are some reports that you deploy to the public, right? Web reports. You understand? Is there a way by which you can deploy RLS on that?
That's very technical in a way. I've not tried it actually, but based on this, right? RLS, I guess RLS can only work on the reports you are sharing with people, right? But you know, for publish to web, you are sharing that with the public. Or Michael, what do you think? You're sharing that with the public, and then there may not need for you to even do any rule level security.
Interestingly, somebody has tried it in our Power BI group, Bernard Obeng. So there was a time he did row level security on his reports and he wanted to share publicly. He didn't share publicly again. That link was not showing. So everybody kept screenshot. This he said it's there. It's not. I couldn't find it. Maybe he or somebody has now figured out that it was because he had done row level security on the data. So Power BI just automatically disabled that public share.
Okay. So my last question is this. Now, for managers of all managers, right? In most cases, you have names assigned to this column on databases. You know, where you had David Abu, yourself, right, managing some regions, and you have another column where you have his manager. So from database perspective, you have names assigned into these columns. You get what I mean? As in you being the manager of all other managers. So my question now is, can we dynamically, kind of add a new column where we say if this name is Adewale Yusuf, then let it be 1, otherwise 0. Just like the lookup value for the statements that you wrote the other time, right?
Yes, you can. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I think I saw another question. You said you guess Power BI user principal name, which is user call email. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome, Mr. Dapo. Thank you so much. If there's any other question for me, I'll take it.
Yes, there's also Ahmed. So Mushin Ahmed. I don't know if he's I can't. Should I read your question? Are you still on the call? Sometimes I find out when people say their questions, it becomes more better than when I first.
Yes, I am.
Okay, yes. So please, maybe you can ask him directly, and you guys can work out the ramifications to the question.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Wale, for the discussion. So my question is this: initially, when you started applying the RLS, when you did it for a single manager, it's changed the admin part. It gave us the name of that manager.
Yeah.
But when you now added another manager to it, featuring it with 2 managers, it only wrote some admin. It did not specify the names of the managers. So what is that? Did you get that?
All right, yeah, I understand. So basically, this is the question you are asking. On my main report, there is a card that I curated. This card here that is showing admin right now, right? This is the card you are talking about, right? Okay, so the formula behind the DAX, don't let me call it formula. You should be calling it DAX, right? I'm used to Excel, sorry. So the formula behind this DAX is actually filtering based on a selected value, right? And because I've selected more than 2 managers right now, that is why this is not reacting to that manager. So my formula is based on selected value, but I can still amend it, right? If I want this formula to be able to show when you select more than 2 users, I want this to be able to show the 2 users, or maybe maybe I want you to show multiple or something like that. I want it to show multiple, right? But this is just dynamically to when you select a single value, right? It's dynamically to when you select, this is the DAX behind this card, and then it's dynamically to when you select a single value. And when somebody signs in online, it's going to look at their user directly online. But you know, two people can actually sign in at the same time. I'm sure you know you can't use 2 emails to sign in at the same time, right? So that is why I based that on a single selected value. Yeah. I hope that answer your question, Ahmed.
Okay. I guess that did that. So there are.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So there are 3 questions left for you. I hope you still have. Let's see. Do you have like 10 minutes for us? Because those 3 questions.
I have almost all the time for
awesome.
my Oga.
Question number 1 is that I'm sure a lot of people are interested in your journey. I am also interested in your journey. It's something that anytime we bring in a guest, people like to hear about their journey. So we'd like to hear your own interesting journey. How did you get to this analysis? What have you always been analyzing since secondary school, primary school? Have you always been using Power BI and Excel since daycare? Everybody wants to really know your interesting journey to this state where you are now. All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Michael. So my own journey. Okay, so let me start from my secondary school days, actually. So ever since my secondary school days, I think I have passion for computer, not actually data. Because then I have passion for computer. When I see people pressing computer and doing stuff on computer, I was always like, I want to be able to do this too. I want to be able to use computer, right? So after my secondary school, I enrolled for a 1-year course on computer engineering and software programming. So I did a 1-year course after then, although then basically they just taught us how to remove hard drive, how to plug in your RAM and all this with all those big desktop. There's not even this much laptop then. All this big desktop, right? That's what we are just trying to just scatter and put it back again. Then before university, actually, I want to study computer engineering or computer science in school. But unfortunately, just like you know that we are in Nigeria, they didn't give me the course. So they gave me something else, and they gave me real estate, actually, estate management and valuation. Because I don't want to decline, so I have to take the course. And I started the course. But although I'm actually doing real estate, I still have passion for that computer. And then during my university period, I always attend to people, help them with little Excel, not that complex Excel, because then I see Excel as a data entry tool, not something I can perform in magic, right? So what I do then is just to help people type in Excel, help them type in Word. I just do some basic stuff, right? Until during my project period, that I was also exposed to SPSS. So when I was working with SPSS, then I used to help a couple of friends do some analysis in SPSS, then some analysis in Excel as well. That's when I started watching some videos in Excel, and I've started checking what Excel can do, how you can create a chart in Excel. So I'll create that chart in Excel, copy it, and put it in my Word document for my project. So I'm learning all those stuff then. So that's when I see how powerful Excel is and how powerful data analysis is. So immediately I came out from school, my NYSC, I have that in mind that I really want to go into this data analysis because it's something I think I have passion for. So I have offers. After my NYSC, I have offers in different real estate organization because I work with a very known real estate organization before, and my boss has some let me say some influentials in real estate economy. So I was able to get different offers from real estate, but I don't want to take it, because that's not what I have passion for. I'm looking for a technology company, and that's when I find myself in D Brown. Right. So when I found myself in D Brown as a core member, then I was like, this is actually where I want. So the way I got to D Brown there was just a long story, but I got to D Brown as an NYSC. So when I got to D Brown, I started as a coordinator, training coordinator. So I used to coordinate most trainers that we have in D Brown then. I've coordinated in different organizations, banking industry, oil and gas, and the rest. So I used to coordinate them. So as a coordinator then, I see most of the magic that those guys actually does, and I have interest. So I started doing those things myself. I started practicing. I started watching video. I can remember my first dashboard I created in Power BI. If I show you, if I show you that first dashboard, You just look at me and shake your head, right? So ever since then, I started practicing. I started learning a lot. Thanks to my boss, David Brown, it actually tried. And then thanks to you also, Michael. I think the first time we met was in Microsoft Office, and I think that was 2018. We met at Microsoft. There's a program organized by Microsoft then on AI with Power BI or something. So we met then, and then I started using all these tools and everything. And luckily for me, I was able to got certified on different certifications from Microsoft. I went for different training in Nigeria and also outside Nigeria. I went for a training in Ghana and also in Tanzania. So at the end of the day, after all this training, I actually became a trainer, and I've been training people for the past 3 years now. And then if I don't want to miscount, I've trained more than 3,000 people on data analysis, Power BI, Excel, and the likes. And then this year, I got this wonderful news of being an MVP from Microsoft, which it's actually a shock to me. So that's just my story. I think I didn't bore you guys with that short story.
It's unique.
Thank you.
Of the other ones so for you, it seems like the interest has always been there for long. So
yeah,
that's a very special one. So I said, so the number two is there are those where they've heard your story, but also they are just starting their own journey. And I'm sure you meet people like that in trainings that you do, where after the training they ask you, what can I do to become like you? How can I get to that stage? And everybody's journey, well, for someone who is not yet in school, so their own journey is going to be different in terms of maybe now they are realizing their own interest. Someone who is maybe still in university can decide to want to follow exactly how you started way, way back. But someone who is just realizing that, okay, I want to take this thing seriously. So what will you advise a person like, okay, I will not tell you to go back to school and start all over, but what will you give as an advice to those of us who are already now, maybe they're already working and then they were like, I want to become as good as you. And hopefully without them going back to school.
Okay, so interesting. So what I used to tell people actually is in this new era that we have, learning is actually free, right? So learning is free. All the resources that you need, you can find all of them online. In fact, just like my boss used to say, in fact, going to school to him is like a waste of time, right? But before you spend 4 or 5 years in school, somebody outside doing professional course, doing something else, I'm actually going way, 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 way ahead of you, right? So what we just go to school to learn is just actually English, because when you come out, most of us don't use what we've learned in school, right? If I ask almost everybody in this call today, that what do you study? What are you doing now? It's actually different, right? So learning is free. So if you want to pick an interest, so think of that interest first. Is it data analytics? Is it data science? Is it programming? Is it software development? In fact, is it local developer? There's even this power platform outside now that's trending now. And in the next 2-3 years, I'm sure this thing is going to be very big and boom. So and a lot of people can just take advantage of that and learn it, because this is how Power BI started 5 years ago. And then people don't actually take note of it until Power BI now become something very big, right? You can see what I'm wearing. This is 5 God Power BI 5 years t-shirt. So if you pick an interest, in data analytics, you can always learn for free. Go online, go to YouTube, meet some people like Michael Olafusi, and that's why I love this interesting Power BI office hour that you normally organize every Sunday. So people that wants to start all this, you want to start learning. So you can, this is Sunday, it's not actually work day. For people that are working, Monday to Friday, you go to work. On Sunday evening like this, you can relax and come to this Power BI office hour, put your coffee beside you, carry your note and everything, and you learn, right? So you can always go online, learn different things. And thanks to Microsoft, they have documentation for everything. That's one thing I like about Microsoft. So if you like to read, you are the type that like to read book very well, go and read Microsoft documentation. Every single Microsoft product have a documentation from A to Z. Everything I mentioned here, type RLS online on Microsoft, you see everything on Microsoft Doc. type Power BI there, you see everything on Microsoft Dot. So learning is free. So some people used to complain that because of money and I have to pay higher for a training firm. So learning is free online. So you just need to just read it and pick that passion. So for me, that's just basically my advice.
Wow. So great. And so the third one is for everybody who we have called as a guest. Unfortunately, we don't have money to give us on the radio. So the only thing we can try to do is, okay, are there things you do? Are there trainings? Are there stuff you do that you want to inform the audience about that they can take advantage of? I know you've mentioned your Twitter, maybe I'll even try and post them there. But are there other things about it that you want them to be aware of, that they can, services that they can reach out to you for, if they are in need of anything regarding those areas? So, yes.
Okay. Okay, so I also run a community in Oyo State, part of Nigeria. So if anybody is here watching from Oyo State, Ibadan, or any part of Oyo State, we are thinking of running a physical meetup by January, and we are planning that, so you can put that in your calendar. So by January, we are planning a big meetup in Ibadan. By January, whereby everybody will come, and we are targeting young people, because we really noticed that young people nowadays, especially in Oyo State part of Nigeria, most of them actually go into internet fraudster than all this technology. Especially when you teach young people how to use a computer, what they will do is just to carry the laptop and started doing a fraudster, right? So instead of them doing that fraudster, they can learn something new and started earning money from even the comfort of your house without even having job. You can go to Upwork, you can do freelance and just earn money on your own, right? So we are doing that meetup by January, and I also host a webinar as well. So from January, I'm also thinking of starting a powerful series on some of these tools, especially Power Platform, because I'm trying to create an awareness on that tool, and I want people to be able to use it perfectly in Nigeria as well. And another thing, what else can I add? Nothing. I think that's all.
Okay, so I'm trying to post I've fished out the Facebook, the Twitter and to your Power Platform. So,
okay. Yeah.
So people can follow. I don't know if you have the link for the event that you mentioned too, so that we can post it and people can also grab that.
Yeah, so we have a POG user group. So let me just post that POG. So people can register there and just focus on the event. So when the event is ready, so you can easily register. So that is the POG user group. I just posted in chat. And maybe I should post my LinkedIn and Twitter handle as well.
Post everything. So I don't know how will I make those watching the video see this. Okay, for those watching in the video, you will see it in the video description. So I'm going to repost all this in the video description. So watch out in the video description for all these links too. So thank you once again. It's been a very interesting one.